Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us in this special edition of Viewpoint on DBS Television. In today's edition of the program, we want to talk about the role of a cardinal. Who is a cardinal in the Catholic Church and what is his function? To talk to us, we have His Grace Archbishop Cornelius Fontaine Eswa, retired Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Bamenda. Thank you, Your Grace, for talking to DBS Television on Viewpoint.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Your Grace, we are talking about a cardinal. Who is a cardinal and what is his function in the Catholic Church?
A cardinal is one of the closest collaborators of the Pope, of the Holy Father. And his function is to help the Holy Father in different ways, especially through being members of the dicasteries, of the different congregations, in other words, the different services of the church, of the works of evangelization in the whole church. They are official members of these different departments of the work of the church, and so their first work is to advise how the various services in the life of the church, in its work of evangelization, have to be carried out.
Your Grace, when one sees a cardinal and a bishop, archbishop like you are, what is the difference between a cardinal and a bishop?
Well, the first thing is that a cardinal can be a bishop, can be an archbishop, or can be a priest, or even a layperson. In other words, the cardinalate is not limited to ordained persons. You know, a bishop is a priest who has been ordained, chosen by the church, by the Holy Father, to become a bishop as far as the pastoral ministry of the church is concerned. And the bishops are the successors of the apostles, so that the closest collaborators of the Pope as far as the administration of the different dioceses of pastoral circumscriptions are concerned, where they are responsible for the work of evangelization, for the work of pastoring the church, you know, and for the work of the sacraments, in other words, the sacrifice of the Mass. So the church, Christ had three, functions: function as a priest, function as a prophet, and function as a pastor. And these three different functions reply to the three different sections of the work of the church as far as taking care of the people of God is concerned.
Okay, Your Grace, you're talking of we can have a situation of having a cardinal who is a lay person. That is what is in have we had a situation of having a cardinal who is a lay person?
Yes. Okay. There have been in the life of the church cardinals who are lay persons. And in actual fact, not long ago, there was Daniel Lou. Daniel Lou was a French philosopher who worked, taught in the church, and who sort of represented the reflection of the church, especially from the point of view of theology, from the point of view of philosophy. And in other words, he contributed a lot in the reflection, theological and philosophical reflection in the teaching of the church. So the Holy Father thought that to get such a person as one of his advisors would be wonderful, and so he chose him. There have been many others. I don't have the list immediately in the mind as such, but I also know there are priests who have been also cardinals. He had also the German theologian von Balthasar, who was a cardinal. And at the moment, we have one of my professors at the Biblicum, Vanois, who is also a cardinal. He's still alive. And there's another priest who was the theologian of the Holy Father, and who has also been who is also a cardinal at the moment. So you have presently cardinals who are priests, who are laypersons, and who are bishops or archbishops.
Okay, Your Grace, you were talking about these cardinals, some who may be lay faithfuls, some who may be from the clergy. And we understand that like a priest, like a bishop, they are ordained. How are cardinals created?
Cardinals are created, that's the right word.
Yes.
They are not ordained. Because a layperson who becomes a cardinal is not ordained. He does not take on the ministry of ordination, because it's not a part of the sacrament of orders. To become a cardinal is not through the sacrament of orders. It's through the simple appointment of the Holy Father, the simple choice of the Holy Father. So that is why those who are appointed cardinals, they are not ordained, they are created. In other words, there is a document by the Holy Father that declares them as his closest collaborators. And this normally takes place in what we call a consistory. A consistory is a gathering of the Holy Father and other cardinals, during which they discuss a number of issues concerning the life of the church. And some special consistories are just made, are called in order that they should declare about who are the newly appointed cardinals. And usually the Pope, the recent Pope, I think Pope John Paul II, they raised the number of cardinals to 120. And so usually they keep the number to that, they keep the number of cardinals around that 120, because only those who are below the age of 80, cardinals who are below the age of 80 are eligible as popes. And so the various consistories that take place normally take that into consideration, and sometimes they take into consideration also the representation of the church in the different parts of the world.
Your Grace, when you were talking about pastors, a priest can be a cardinal, an archbishop, a bishop can be a cardinal, as well as a layperson. And we understand that from within the ranks of the cardinals, like you say, below 80 years, that is when they can elect a pope. If I happen to be appointed a cardinal, a layman,
yes,
can I be since I will be I'm less than 80, I will be among those electing the pope? Can I be elected a pope, a layman?
Well, if that happens, if you are elected a pope, you'll be ordained a priest, you'll be ordained a bishop before you become a pope.
Okay.
Yes. So very often it's only the cardinals who are in sacred orders, okay, would be part of the election as a pope. But it can happen, because we have had in the history of the church people who were deacons who were elected to become popes. And when they were elected to become popes, they were at the same time ordained priests, ordained bishop, and then before they became popes in their life.
We're talking about the passing on of Christian Cardinal Wigan Tume, the lone cardinal that Cameroon has ever had since God created Cameroon.
Yes.
Should Cameroon be looking forward to a new cardinal?
Well, that is not automatic. It is totally not automatic, because first, to become cardinal is not a geographical representation.
Okay.
Could be. It's not the geographical representation. It's ad personam. In other words, it is the person that the Holy Father chooses to become his closest collaborator.
Okay.
In the church, there are a number of sees, in other words, a number of dioceses that in the course of tradition, they have always had cardinals,
Okay.
you know. And so, very often now, if a bishop of that particular see, which is a cardinalate see, dies, people will always be looking forward to the fact that whoever becomes a bishop to that in that particular church, in that particular diocese or archdiocese, would become also a cardinal. That happens very often in Europe. But that is not the same in other parts of the world. There are still going to be a certain tradition that is laid down, or that is grows, and this depends on the discretion of the Holy Father himself. So we have had occasions, for example, there was a cardinal in Congo-Brazzaville, Cardinal Bayenda, who was killed some years ago. Since then, Brazzaville, Congo has not had a cardinal. Has not had a cardinal yet. So, and the cardinal there was the first cardinal of Nigeria, who was the bishop of Ekotokweni. Then he was transferred to Nigeria, to the capital of Nigeria now,
Abuja.
Abuja. He was transferred to Abuja. And when he died, his successor, who became also the Archbishop of Abuja, also became a cardinal. But we have other cardinals. For example, Lagos has a cardinal. There is another cardinal from Nigeria who is in Rome, who has retired, Cardinal Renze. He was the first Nigerian cardinal. He was not in charge of a particular diocese. When from Onitsha, he was sent to Rome and he became cardinal. And there have been a number of cases like that. For example, in Benin, Cardinal Gantin, he became cardinal while he was in Rome. So it is not automatic that we should get immediately another cardinal who is the Archbishop of Douala. Then that's, if the Pope wants to honor Cameroon with another cardinal, it can be any of the bishops in Cameroon.
Okay. From any diocese?
Any of the bishops from any diocese at the moment.
Okay.
It's not necessary that it should be the Archbishop of Douala.
Okay.
Because the present cardinal, who we have just buried, was the Archbishop of Garoua, yes. And he was transferred to Douala. So tomorrow, any of the dioceses of Cameroon can welcome a cardinal.
We pray so, Your Grace. But then I wanted to find out again, because when you listen to what Christians are asking, they are of the opinion that when you look at the Semak zone, it is only Cameroon that had a cardinal.
No.
Yes.
A few years ago, the Archbishop of Bangui was appointed a cardinal.
Okay.
Yes, he was supposed to be here, but he didn't come. Mm-hmm. Yes, so in the Semak area, we can say, for the moment, it was only Cardinal, was Cardinal Tumi, and then there was the Cardinal Archbishop of Bangui, and it's no guarantee that Cameroon gets another cardinal. It may be in a country of Semak.
Okay, Your Grace, we want to find out, when you look at, before Cardinal Christian died, he was a cardinal. I want to find out, do cardinals retire, bishops retire at 75?
Yes, bishops retire from the pastoral administration of a particular diocese.
Yes.
So they go on retirement.
Yes.
And somebody else takes up the pastoral administration. If that bishop were a cardinal, he would still be performing his functions in Rome.
Okay.
For example, Cardinal Tumi retired as the Archbishop of Douala.
Yes.
But he still had functions in Rome. The Pope could use him in other various circumstances and occasions where he needed his advice and his assistance.
Cameroon had the privilege to have a cardinal, and amongst him we had the archbishops, bishops, and priests. Was the cardinal the highest hierarchy within the Catholic Church in Cameroon?
Oh yes. As far as that is concerned, the cardinal is the direct representative of the Holy Father. And he links directly his, called the princes of the church. He links directly to the Holy Father. And so he is, as far as the hierarchy of the church is concerned, you can say you have priests, deacons, priests, bishops, archbishops, cardinals, and the Holy Father. So once you have the cardinal is higher than the archbishop as far as his collaboration with the Holy Father is concerned.
But the cardinal has no territorial jurisdiction like an archbishop would do, a bishop would do, a priest.
No. A cardinal does not necessarily have a pastoral jurisdiction. But he may have, if he's appointed, if he has been a bishop, he is a bishop, then he will have a pastoral jurisdiction. But the moment that, for example, like the late Cardinal Tumi, when he retired as the Archbishop of Douala, no, he was still connected with the Holy Father and working and being an advisor with the Holy Father. But as far as the Diocese of Douala is concerned, he had no pastoral jurisdiction. You can say he is under the Archbishop of Douala,
okay,
as far as he's in Douala. And therefore, all the decisions of the diocese are taken by the Archbishop. There cannot be two, what you call, two bishops of, in other words, titulars, bishops in one diocese. You can have auxiliary bishops. You can have a coadjutor bishop. And a coadjutor bishop is the one who can immediately who should immediately take over from the bishop to whom he is coadjutor. And usually a coadjutor is appointed when they are looking forward either to the retirement of a particular bishop or to his replacement in some other way.
Okay, Your Grace, we'll continue talking about this function of a cardinal. Does it have anything to do with their life, the holiness of their life, their lifestyle, the strength of their faith, all this? Or does it mean that the Pope needs somebody in, we call it political issues or economic issues, and he can just pick one Venantius from somewhere and he becomes...
I'm glad you started by saying holiness.
Yes.
I think holiness is one of the, you must have been a good Christian, you must have been an ideal priest, you must have been a good bishop, an exemplary person, in order to be able to be a good collaborator of the Holy Father. Because it's not just material problems, it's a question of spirituality. And I was very happy today when all the testimonies about Cardinal Tumi were about the fact that he's a man of prayer. He was an ideal priest, an ideal pastor who gave his life to carry out the mission of the church, and nothing else but the mission of the church. So that is absolutely important, that a cardinal must be somebody who is his life and ministry must have the order of holiness, and then should be inspire the people. He should be an exemplary to all the Christians, so that he can be prophetically a sign to all the people who are under him, or to anybody who meets him. That is absolutely important. He must be an exemplary priest, exemplary Christian, exemplary priest, exemplary bishop, before he was ever, or appointed a cardinal.
Your Grace, we understand that a bishop, a cardinal is the close collaborator of the Pope. And if the Pope, the present Pope, if he appoints or creates his collaborators, cardinals, and he dies or retired, like we had, or we're having the retired Pope Benedict the 16th, does he go with his collaborators, or his collaborators, which he created, continue with his successor?
Oh, the cardinals are for the church. They are not tied down to a particular pope. When the pope creates a cardinal, he becomes his closest collaborator as pope. And when he is no longer pope, he continues to be the closest collaborator of the next pope, because it is the ministry of the Holy Father as the successor, of St. Peter, that matters. As the successor of St. Peter, as a supreme pontiff, he needs to work with people from all over the world, and people who can advise him, and that's why the cardinals are there, so that he has the solidity of the whole church in his mind. And the cardinals, they represent the different areas of the church. They come from different geographical areas, and therefore it is that normal, humanly, that they make their contribution according to their area of provenance. In other words, through them, the church, the Pope, has a sensitivity of the whole church, and therefore he stands a better chance to lead the church in a better way.
Your Grace, can we link cardinals to parliamentarians? Can they be like the
no,
people's
forget about that.
representative in the Holy See?
Don't think about that. Don't ever the parliamentarians are politicians.
Yes, they represent the people in the National Assembly. So
they are supposed to be elected by the people.
Yes.
They are supposed to be elected by the people.
Yes.
The church is hierarchical. They are appointed. I said from the beginning, the cardinals are appointed by the Pope. The church is hierarchical. In other words, the leaders of the church, they are not just because of the common consensus. Usually, very often, before a priest is ordained, to find out what the people think about that candidate, just to find out whether he has he is worthy candidate from different aspects of his life and of the work of the church. But it's not because he has a numerical number that is talking for him. It's qualitative. It's not quantitative. When we talk about democracy or that, you are talking about government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yes.
That's not. The Pope works for the people, but it's not a government of the people. It's that we call hierarchical. His power comes from above, and he represents the apostles. He represents, Christ. He is an alter Christus, like the priest. The priest is not ordained a priest because he has many Christians who are canvassing for him. He's ordained a priest because he has certain qualities that are necessary for somebody who wants to carry out such a ministry. The holy ministry is chosen. Otherwise, you cannot.
Your Grace, time is running short on us. I would want us to look at from you. Who has Cardinal Christian Twumey been to you?
Cardinal Christian Twumey has been a wonderful, exemplary Christian, priest, bishop to me. I say I've been privileged to work with him closely for a long time. I met him in the Major Seminary in 1964. Then he was in theology, I was in philosophy. And I was inspired a lot by him. His holiness, his, moral life, his conduct and the rest, and what he did inspired me a lot. We were from the same diocese, the Diocese of Buya. When he was ordained a priest, he worked in the parish for a short time, And then he was sent to the seminary to teach. And from the seminary, Bishop Rogan College, he was sent to study in France and then in Switzerland. And then he came back. He came back in 73. In the meantime, I was ordained a priest in 71. And I was sent to Rome to study. And when I came back in 77, I went to the seminary where he was rector. So he was rector, I was bursar. And I worked with him for 5 years, before he was chosen to be the bishop of Yagoa. In the meantime, in the 2 years after, I was appointed bishop, bishop of Kumbo, of his hometown. And he came for holiday every year. And we stayed together and played tennis together. So we knew ourselves very well. And we talked a lot, and he inspired me a lot as far as his commitment to the work of evangelization, primary evangelization, concerned about the laity and the rest. So I think I learned a lot from him. And then when I became bishop, we talked a lot together, we discussed so many things together. And he came to Kumbo every year. Even when I became Bamenda, he also came. And I think he has inspired me a lot as far as my pastoral ministry is concerned.
Thank you, Your Grace. It was a pleasure having you on DBS Television on Viewpoint.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all we had time for today's edition of the program. Up next will be the news in the English language with Cynthia, and we're looking forward to meeting you in subsequent editions. Until we meet, goodbye and good night.